Alright, hey, welcome to Live Factually, y'all. Just adjusting my mask here. Hey, listen, I've been doing a lot of research. I know you guys know my stance on masks, but I've been doing a lot of research and new information is coming out. And I wanted to say that my position on the mask hasn't changed one bit. Sorry, sorry, had to do it. Yeah, it hasn't changed. Cloth mask, mandated and mandatory cloth mask for the entire population at all times when they're outside or near people or inside, has not changed. The data coming out is telling you that absolutely do not do it. It's harmful. So, but what this really comes down to, the most dangerous part about this that I want to talk about is personal choice, personal freedoms, and personal responsibility. You are responsible for your own health, and I'm responsible for my own health. You're responsible for your kids. Now, if you're doing something wrong with your kids, surely I'd like the government to step in, but that's only protecting the constitutional rights of those kids. But you don't get to say what's healthy for my family and my kids. You don't get to tell me what's healthy for me. The government's not there, ever. It's never intended to be there to tell me what's right for me. It's just protect my constitutional rights. It protects others from hurting me or businesses to mislead me or steal from me, but it's not there and has never been there and never intended to be tell me how to live my life, tell me how to protect myself. It's not, that's not what it's for. So that's the most dangerous thing we're talking about right now, and I've had it. I'm done with it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to stand for it much longer, and I know there's a lot of people on the edge out here. What I'm telling you right now is the anxiety we're creating with the talk, the way we're talking to each other, the way we're mandating these health, the masks, the way we're going about business, the way our politicians are going about their daily routines and fighting amongst each other. It's creating anxiety, depression, despair. This is more harmful. This has more long-term effects than this virus does. Somebody online to me said, well, the virus has long-term effects. Well, so does hurting your knee. If you pull your ACL when you're 15 years old, guess what? You're going to have long-term knee issues probably for the rest of your life. I tore my ACL when I was 24. Guess what? I still have issues. There are long-term effects of getting a cold. There are long-term effects of getting the flu. There are long-term effects of almost anything out there. So anyone telling you the coronavirus has long-term effects and you need to be scared, stop it. Everything does. Yes, I don't want anyone to be sick or get hurt, but everything has a long-term effect if it's no matter what. Even the smallest of things. An infected paper cut could have long-term effects. Tripping over a tree curb or the sidewalk and you fall down and hurt your hip. And guess what? You're going to have hip issues for a long, long time. You can get surgery if you can afford it now. But if you can, it's going to affect you. Even after getting surgery, it's going to affect you long term. So this is life. Life is that way. And yes, all you can do is minimize that. When I go out jogging these days at my age, everything kind of hurts. You just deal with it. Why? Because it's better than sitting at home doing nothing and being scared and wasting away and being miserable and not living a full life. So go out there, live your life full, be happy. All right, going back to school. Real simple public schools. We pay for public schools. We're forced to pay, which is fine. I don't mind it when it's done properly. But the school does not get to tell you what your kids need to do, what your kids need to wear, who they need to, what religion they need to follow, if they support a certain president or not support a certain president, and they certainly don't get to tell you if they should wear a mask or not. We tell them. School should not be able to tell you that you can't come back to school unless your kid wears a mask. This is all fear. This is, again, and fear leads to anxiety, leads to depression, despair, and countless other things. So prolonged anxiety is hurting us right now, and it's creating more hate, and it's creating more anger, and it's getting to a point where we can't turn back because people are so locked into it. So go to your school board meetings, attend them. If they're online, get online, or go to them in person, and you need to fight this. This is not okay. Forcing kids to wear masks at school is not okay. So you have a parent that says, oh my gosh, we gotta wear a mask. I don't want to send my school unless people wear a mask. Fine. Guess what? You homeschool your kid, or you send your kid to cyber school. You can't force the rest of us because you're scared of this virus and we don't think it's as dangerous as you think it is, and we think our kids are better off or less dangerous going to school as normal for their long-term mental health, physical health than you. We just disagree on that. No problem. But what you can't do is force me to live by your fear. Take your kid out of school, put them in homeschool. But if my kids are forced to wear masks, I'm probably going to end up going to cyber school, and the schools are going to lose a ton of money because they don't get those dollars. So now you're talking about schools that have already, if your school already was facing budget cuts or they were raising your taxes, now you start sending these kids to cyber school, they lose money. They lose, I think 80% of what the state would give them per child goes to the cyber school. They get 20% for sports or field maintenance because the kids can play sports in that local community. That's a bad thing. That's a bad thing, and it's gonna happen. Parents are not going to force their kids to wear a mask all day long. They're going to send them to cyber school. So now you're going to have brick and mortar schools struggling for cash even more. Even more. You're going to have teachers get fired. You're going to have a lot of positions eliminated, and it's going to go downhill from there. So I urge you to let it be people's choice. It needs to be a personal choice. And if you don't feel safe, no problem. I understand why you don't. I don't agree with you, but I just understand why you don't. So take your kid to cyber school. There's a lot less of you out there than there are us. Trust me. The silent majority is about to stand up. They've had it. They're sick of it. They're done being forced to do things they don't want to do. They're done being scared to leave their house in fear someone's going to turn on them. This is the other part I want to talk about. So now the government has done this thing, or the people in charge and people in power, which is, I say it's all about power. It's not about anything else but power. They now have taken 50% of the American population, and they're now the police officers for the other 50%. So they're out there telling, pointing fingers who's not wearing a mask. They're out there bullying people to wear a mask and saying you don't care about other people, you're not compassionate, you want other people to die, you want my kids to get sick. This is awful. First of all, it's not even true. There's no data to support that claim. It's so rare that me not wearing a mask and you wearing a mask that I could ever get you sick. It's extremely, extremely rare, if not impossible. But they're out there pushing this agenda on us, and it's creating this huge divide, and we need to stop it. Cut this cord, please. Separate yourself, free yourself from this. Just do what's right for you. I'm going to repeat this 1,000 times. Do what's right for you. Let me do what's right for me, what I feel is right for me, please. So to finish up, going back to school, stop it. Next thing, the bullying aspect. So in PA, let me tell you about this. In PA, I had someone online, a good friend of mine who's pretty well known in our town, said, hey, look, Mike Pence said that this is said it's a good thing. He's glad to see mandates on masks, so it's not a political thing anymore. Well, it's wrong. It's always been a political thing, and I support Mike Pence and Donald Trump, but not on all things. I don't agree with on anything. But I'm not going to sit here and play as if they don't play the game too. Mike Pence saying that, he's playing a political game, and I don't like it. I don't want to see it, but that doesn't mean it's not political. You're actually being contradictory, because Mike Pence saying that is 100% political, and you think it's not. You think we can end politics, but he's playing politics. So that's not okay. We got to take that out. In PA, our Governor Wolf was mandating masks, or starting to mandate masks, and he continued the emergency declaration while our local House and Senate passed a concurrent resolution. That means Democrats and Republicans got together and said, nope, you've got to end this emergency declaration. Took all the power from him. Guess what he said? I'm going to take this to court. So all those state legislators, all of them that represent the small municipalities of our state, said, please, our people, the mass majority of our citizens want this to end. The governor says, nope, I'm going to continue to do it. I'm going to take you to court for it. That's not political. That's political. Next, what he did then, and this is what the government does, I warn you, because they're getting better at it, and you're okay with, some of you are okay with it now because they're doing what you want, but the moment they don't do what you want, you're stuck, because you've approved it now and you've given them that power. They start using their agencies, and what they're doing is you're using now the health secretary. So Governor Wolf couldn't get what he wanted through his own power. So what he did is he created a health code now and said this is a health code, and now he's turning business owners into law enforcement officers. They've got to enforce his mandate on masks. They've now got to fight the public of people who want to wear a mask and don't. This is going to create more divide and more anger, and it already has. It's not going to get any better. This needs to end. So he went backdoor on it. Why? Because it is political. If it's not political, then it's straight power. He needed his way to be done. The choices he made, the belief he had to be done, no matter how many people disagree with him, no matter what. Had to be his way. And as a business owner, that scares me, because that gives them so much power. At any point, they could make a health code that you have to wear any type of clothing or any article, or the thousands of things. You have to wash your hands 20 times while you sit down. So this is a dangerous way to let government have this much power. Please, I encourage you, don't let this happen, because it will turn on you one day. The monster will turn on you one day, and you're not going to like it. And we're going to look at you and say, you let this happen, and you even told us to let it happen. So going back to masks now, and people, all the people online that have fought for this, you got to wear masks, please, or you're going to affect other people, you're a horrible person. You aren't even following the mask protocols. Do you know what actually the protocol is for cloth masks? You don't. So please research them. You have to wash it after every use. You shouldn't be touching your hands and face. You really shouldn't be wearing it for more than a couple hours at a time before you change it out. And I'm going to tell you why. But you're not even following your own protocols. You can't even do that. So you want me to wear a mask, and I say no, and you say, well, I don't care about people. And then I say, well, what, are you following all the protocols? When you take that mask off, where do you put it? In your pocket? On your car seat? At your counter at home? So you take off your mask at home, you're talking to your family members, you're washing dishes, you're eating, you're talking, and then the mask is taking up all these droplets as you use, your water droplets, and then you put it right back on your face and use it again. What's that stopping? Nothing. They're on the outside of the mask now. If it's in your pocket, on your car seat, on a countertop, the virus particles are now on the mask, and when you cough or sneeze or talk, they're going outward. They're not being stopped by anything because they're on the outside of it. So you can't even follow your own protocols when you do this. So why are you forcing me to follow something you can't even hold the actual standard to? But that's irrelevant because cloth masks don't do anything or do very little. 97% they do not block 97% of the droplets coming out of your mouth or nose. And this is done by the NHS. And I have links to all this. Don't worry, I have links. Read it for yourself. Now what they're doing though, because they're still trying to get us to be prolonged fear and keep us in fear check. They're saying that the virus could be airborne, which I did a post about this back in April, that I thought that maybe this was already airborne because the way it was spreading from country to country so easily, and us staying indoors actually helped the spread because it likes to spread through the air, and it comes in your windows. So now, here's the best part about this, the funniest part. So you know how everybody's saying wear masks. If you see the Facebook or social media things now, they're saying in the studies, they're saying the weaving of the cloth masks stop those large particles. Because the virus lives in the water droplets, can float in the water droplets, but those water droplets get stopped by the mask. Now the virus particle itself is small enough to fit through the weaving of the masks, which has been an argument for people. So now, but the water droplets that they're contained in aren't. Well, guess what now? If it's airborne, guess what's not? It's not in water droplets. So think of it's real simple. Gravity, a large water droplet comes out of your mouth, it drops down with about 1 feet, 2 feet, it's on the ground. The ones that stay in the air, these airborne particles that stay in the air for hours or minutes, hours, they can float from window to window, they can float through air conditioning units. Those are tiny particles. Those are not water droplets anymore. And guess what? Your cloth mask doesn't stop those. So where's your argument? Your argument is done. If they say this is airborne, your cloth mask argument is done. You have no chance of survival on this one because the particle that's coming out is small enough to fit through the cracks of that cloth mask. But getting to my main point here, the NIH, I have an article about the NIH back in 2015. Now, it was done by two people who were still on the team, Dr. Fauci's team, that's leading the decisions or how we're, the remedies or what we're doing with this pandemic. Now, in 2015, they said the exact opposite they're saying now. So you have two choices here. Why are they saying the exact opposite? Either they've been wrong for 5 years, grossly wrong, and been telling us the wrong thing, which means they got many people sick. And Dr. Fauci, too, back in March, said don't wear cloth masks. Only the surgical people right now. So if this virus is so transmitted, if a cloth mask would stop the infectivity rate, then Dr. Fauci for 2-3 months allowed us to spread this virus like wildfire. He was absolutely wrong. So which one is it? And back in 2015, these experts that you tell me to listen to say cloth masks absolutely do nothing to stop infectivity of flu-like viruses or coronavirus or SARS or MERS. Absolutely nothing. So which one is it? Were they grossly wrong for 5 years and endangered all of us and got 1,000 people sick and killed hundreds of thousands of people? Or are they just lying now? Because the science doesn't change, people. Our understanding of science might change, but science doesn't change. So which one is it? They were either wrong then or they're wrong now. The virus did not change. Virus particles did not get smaller or bigger. They stay they're the same. So you've got to ask yourself why. Why did it change and which one is it? There's another study I'm going to show you here that it looks like it was done at Penn State. And basically what it's saying, here I'll read it to you, this is part of it, there's so much more, but studies have shown that the ordinary surgical mask does little to prevent, this is surgical mask, does little to prevent inhalation of small droplets bearing influenza virus. The pores in the mask become blocked by moisture from breathing, and the air stream supply diverts around the mask. There are few data available to support the efficacy of the N95 or surgical mask outside of a healthcare setting. So what they're saying is, outside of a healthcare setting, there's no reason to be wearing a mask at all. It just does not help you. You're not using it properly, you're not changing it out properly, you're not cleaning it properly, so it does nothing. So air is going to get out, right? So if you are wearing a mask and your moisture of your breath and the humidity and your sweat, soak that. You know how it is. A wet towel, think of that. It blocks everything else. So now the air has to go somewhere. Well, it comes out the sides, the top, everywhere. So anything can come in then too as well. So as you breathe in, it sucks in and it pushes out. It's a real simple concept. So yes, the cloth mask you think might work for about 5 minutes until you've breathed enough in that to create enough moisture, especially in the humidity of the summer. It gets all blocked, it's done. It becomes useless. So the 97% becomes 100%. 97% useless becomes 100% useless. Now with this randomized study from the NIH, a cluster of randomized trial of cloth masks compared to medical masks in healthcare workers. They did this, so they took similar healthcare arms, and this is what they call it in the study. Basically, they had a high chance of getting infected with the flu-like viruses or SARS or MERS. So they worked in wings of the hospital that had a high likelihood of them getting infected. They had a volunteer group wear cloth masks every minute they were on the shift. Every shift they did for 4 weeks, and they had some not wear any masks, and they had some wear surgical masks. And here are the results. Now there's much more to the study, so find out for yourself, but here are the results. The rates of all infection outcomes were highest in the cloth mask arm. Yeah. With the rate of the ILI, which is influenza-like illness, statistically significantly higher in the cloth mask arm. So the rate of infection was 13, which is 95% CI. And you can read what that means. I'm not going to go into that now, but cloth masks also had significantly higher rates of ILI compared with the control arm. Now what they also say here is, listen, this is the part that I love. Higher the cloth mask group compared with the medical mask group. Penetration of cloth masks by particles was almost 97%. Let me read that again. Penetration of cloth masks, so from flu-like viruses or SARS or MERS, penetration of the cloth mask particles was 97%, and medical masks 44%. So even medical masks only can block 44% of these flu-like particles, that the flu or virus or coronavirus-like particles. 97% got through that mask. So either in or out, you choose. 97% is getting in and out. So 3%, you want me to wear a mask all the time, or kids to wear a mask for 3% effectivity, and that's only, you're not even talking about how many people get infected that way. Most of the infection rate is from personal contact. So I would say 3% of everybody getting infected is even because of air drop or water droplets, and 3% of that. So you want to know what that means? What percentage is that? Do the math on that. Take 0.03 times 0.03, and you'll find out 0.03 of 0.03. You'll find out real quickly that that's a number that's probably 0.0009% chance that a cloth mask does anything for you. Now here's what they say too. The study is the first RTC. This study is the first RTC of cloth masks, and the results caution against the use of cloth masks. The results caution against use of cloth masks. This is an important finding to inform occupational health and safety. Moisture retention, reuse of cloth masks, and poor filtration may result in increased risk of infection. Increased risk of infection is what we've been saying. This was a 2015 study by the NIH, the experts you tell us to listen to. Why did they change all of a sudden? Further research is needed to inform the widespread use of cloth masks globally. However, as a precautionary measure, cloth masks should not be recommended for healthcare workers, particularly in high-risk situations, and guidelines need to be updated. Wow. Wow, what does that mean for us? Now, Surgeon General, currently still our Surgeon General, said back in March, masks may actually increase your coronavirus risk if worn improperly. Surgeon General says yes, and we're wearing them improperly continuously. We're not changing them out enough. We're not cleaning them properly. We're not washing them after every use. Now, the funny part is, my last point I want to make, and I'll get out of here, is that the CDC lists how to protect yourself and others. from the coronavirus. Now, of course, they throw in there, here's what they talk about, and I'll show you the link, how it spreads, and then everyone should wash their hands and how you should wash your hands after touching your face, after caring for someone sick, avoid close contact. All these are fine. I get this to a certain point, but these are fine. Then it says cover your mouth and nose with a cloth face covering when around others, right? So it lists down you can spread COVID in others if you do not feel sick, which we now know is not true. It's very rare that asymptomatic people can spread it. The cloth face covering is meant to protect other people in case you're infected. Yeah, except for the NIH did a study, and it was the only study done at that point, where it said 97% penetration rate. Remember that. Everyone should wear a cloth mask in public settings and around other people who don't live in a household when social distancing. When you can't social distance, it's fine. Blah, 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 all this crap. Do not use face masks meant for healthcare worker. Currently, surgical masks and N95 respirators are in critical supply, as they were in 2015, by the way. They were the article, the NIH says even in 2015, surgical masks and N95s were in short supply even back then. Currently, surgical masks and N95 are in short supply and should be reserved for healthcare workers. Now, cough. The very next section they say cover cough and sneezes. Listen to what they say. Always cover your mouth and nose with a tissue when you cough or sneeze. Now, if you're wearing a mask, why would you need a tissue? But they say, when you cough or sneeze, use the inside of your elbow and do not spit. Throw used tissue in the trash. Immediately wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. If soap and water are not readily available, clean your hands with sanitizer that contains at least 60% alcohol. So, listen to that. So when you have a cloth mask, you should wear one at all times. But if you sneeze into a tissue, you immediately have to throw that tissue out and wash your hands. So if you sneeze into a cloth mask, why wouldn't you have to immediately change that out? Now I get it, you're not holding your cloth mask like you would a tissue, so you want to wash your hands, but why would you immediately have to throw that cloth mask out? Tell me the difference between a cloth mask and a tissue, and how much the particles are stopped by or not stopped. So even the CDC can't get themselves right. They have to throw that paragraph in just to be either somebody's forcing them to, or it's political, or it's power. It's one of those three. Which one is it? Why are they doing that? Because they don't even recommend throwing the cloth mask out after you sneeze or cough in it. That's ridiculous. You should. If you should do it with a tissue. So anyway, end point is, guys, the cloth mask does nothing for you. It is just a fear tactic, and they're going to push it on you. Don't be fooled by it. I don't mind if you want to wear a mask, just don't make me wear one. Don't make the business owners become enforcers of bad policies. Don't put that stress on them. Owning a business isn't stressful enough. Don't put this on them, and don't make them argue with their own customers and guests. If you're scared, if you know somebody, like I said, if somebody's walking into a business and you're afraid of it, the virus, and you see people aren't wearing masks, just turn around and walk out. You don't need that. Do you really need that Starbucks? Do you really need that pastry? Do you really need that food item? You can just order takeout or delivery, or I'll drop it off at your door. Call me up. So anyway, last point here, finish it up. Recycling back to the first one. This is about personal rights, personal freedoms, and personal responsibility. This is the American way. You are responsible for you. I am responsible for me. We've got to find a way to compromise on this. I'm not going to bend. I'm not going to follow these strict protocols that are not backed by science, that are scaring people to death, giving people high anxiety, causing people to be depressed, causing people to want to be to not want to be around people, making what used to be fun shopping trips into miserable experiences. And just people being scared of each other. Everybody is just so scared of each other, and I'm sick of it. I'm not afraid of you. I'm not worried about, and I don't mean it in a harmful way. I mean, I'm not afraid of you. Come talk to me. Come shake my hand. Come give me a hug. Give me a high five. I'm not afraid of you. If you get me sick, I'm not going to sue you. I'm not going to blame you. Anybody could get me sick. My cat could get me sick. My dog could get me sick. A fly that lands on my head and bites my beautiful bald head could get me sick. I'm not afraid to be around you. I think you're a great person. I want to learn from you. I want to help you where you need help, and if I need help, I'd love it if you could, but you don't have to. Just let me have my choice. Let me have my freedoms, and you are responsible for you, and I'll be responsible for me. And if you need help, I'm here, and if I need help, maybe you're there. If not, I don't care. I'll make it through it. All right? Get out there, free yourself, stand up for what you believe. You no longer have time. Let's get this done, America.